Nope. We're good? Okay. All right. We're sitting by committee, so economic development's back there, design, promotion. And we have our lovely organization, which I think is really the board, so that's okay, we won't worry about that. We'll work with the board tomorrow. I'm Sheri Stuart, I coordinate the statewide Oregon Main Street program. I'm really happy to be back here for the committee training. After the launch, when we introduced the Main Street approach, I understand you had an intermediate meeting that you had about 40 people attend, and it sounds like it was really lively and great evening to kind of get people interested in serving on one of the committees moving forward with implementing the Main Street approach here in Lakeview. So it's really exciting to hear about that evening and the level of interest in working on projects and activities to support your downtown. Why don't we go around the room really quickly and you can introduce yourself and you can say your business owner or property owner or just a general interested citizen. So why don't we start up here? Ray, why don't you go ahead? I'm sure everybody knows you.
Manager for the town of Lakeview.
Thanks.
And I do own a house in town. It's not very historic, but mostly historic.
Great.
I'm Christy Bernal. We have the jewelry store, so we are a business owner and a building owner. And then we have Maria's Tin House in the Plush West building. We do not own that building.
Thanks.
And Logan, we have a business that's outside of town, but what goes on in town reflects on us outside of town.
And I just want to clone you and take you to all our communities. That's what I believe too. So, thanks.
Yeah, Bender and my husband and I have an educational products up now.
Leroy Johnson, my wife Cynthia. We have a house here in town and we're here out of curiosity.
I'm Teresa Decker and I'm interested in making sure that this downtown survives because we've been here for generations and I have children that I'd like to stay here for generations.
I'm Karen Bunch, and I've been here for 15 years, and I'm interested in revitalizing the town for the citizens, mostly, and then the tourists might come, but mostly the citizens. I think it's really important.
John Buck, I've been here forever. I'm just been interested.
John Koger, as building owners.
Real estate.
And
I'm Cheryl Inero. I am with the Klamath Falls Community College Small Business Development Center, and my family's been here for many generations also, so I'm interested in seeing the town prosper and succeed.
I'm Holly Vaughn. I was born here and we moved away, and I recently moved back, and I'm having to shop.
I'm Ginger Casto, and I grew up here also and came back, and I'm the economic development person, community development person for the county. And you know, it is my job, but I also have a lot of passion about it because I grew up here and I would love to see things, you know, feel a little more prosperous downtown, have choices about shopping, and you know, really get some activities. We had a lot of fun this weekend downtown on Saturday, and I think we can do more of that.
yeah, we did.
It was great. How many?
300.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Good.
It's fun. And
Jimmy Hall from the Examiner.
thanks for being here. We are by area of interest, so there's economic development, promotion up here. Okay. So in front of most of you, and I apologize, I didn't realize there'd be so much interest in design, but there should be a committee member handbook for the point that you're interested in, some extra handouts, and a set of work plans, a complete set of work plans. I do have a couple of extra copies of these if folks don't have them. I don't have extra copies of the handbooks. However, I did give Gender a disc that has a PDF of all of the handbooks on it, as well as all of this other material, in addition to some other stuff that might be of interest to folks, to some other publications from the National Main Street Center. The purpose of the meeting tonight is really to talk about roles and responsibilities of committees. So we're working on getting the Main Street approach started in Lakeview. And so it's kind of a process. It's getting the board, getting their bylaws and goals and objectives established, and then getting some committees formed that are working on a broad-based range of activities. So a critical part of the process is understanding what the role and responsibilities of community volunteers are. This is a 100% volunteer effort right now in Lakeview as we're moving forward. So having a clear understanding of the roles and responsibilities is really critical. So I'm going to do a little bit of background about the Main Street approach and roles and responsibilities of committees. And then we'll move into a more work plan portion of the evening. Go over the importance of developing work plans, elements of work plans, how to plan projects and activities, and then give you an opportunity to discuss project ideas and start doing the initial work plan thinking process. I'll be floating through the committees at that point and sitting down with you and talking with you about your project ideas, and then moving on to the next committee so that I can give you a little bit of feedback as well on some of the activities that you're thinking of, or if you need some ideas or information. One thing, I just celebrated my 25th year of downtown revitalization using Main Street on August 1st. And I've collected a lot of ideas and examples. And so the great thing about Main Street is, I think I shared this before, good ideas are borrowed, great ideas are stolen. And we take it as a highest form of compliment if you steal, one of our ideas if you're from another community, because that means it was a really good idea, worthy enough that it's something that we want to borrow. So all of those great ideas and projects and activities that other communities that I've worked with throughout my career I have samples of. So as I sit down and talk to you about some of your ideas, I'll see if there's some things that I might have examples of in my files that I might be able to send to you via gender array and get them out to you in that form. So with that, any questions or anything that you were hoping to cover that I didn't mention that we would be covering tonight? Anything to start off with? Okay, all right. And please feel free to get more food or water as we go forward. Your comfort is important to help you keep hydrated and energized, because we'll be covering a lot of kind of dense material at the outset. The first slide that I tossed up here, and we have a handout on this, just to reiterate why downtown's important and why it's important to have an organization like this. So I'm not going to go through all elements of these. We've covered it in other sessions, and you have it in the handout. But I just really want you to know that the work that you're doing and undertaking by each of the 4 points of the Main Street approach is important to your community. It's important and valuable work. I always feel that downtowns are the heart of the community, and if our downtown's not strong, the rest of our community won't be as strong as it possibly can. So the stronger that we can make the downtown, it does have that impact on the rest of our community as well. It helps with industrial recruitment, it helps retain medical staff in your community, it helps attract and support good teachers in our communities as well. Because it's quality of life is one of the most important things that people are seeking today. And somebody mentioned you want your kids to stay in town. Well, millennials, what they look for is that quality of life. They'll move someplace without even having a job because that quality of life is so important. And what they're looking for is authenticity. And that's what our downtowns have to offer. They're authentic in terms of the sense of community. They're authentic in the sense of the history and heritage. They're authentic in the sense of the historic resources and buildings that we have in the community. The individual merchants and entrepreneurs that we have started in these three communities sets them all apart. So what you have here to offer is great if we could just leverage that and bring it all together in a comprehensive revitalization strategy. So just keep in mind that the work that you're doing, while it does support downtown business and property owners, it's really for your community as well. So keep that in mind. The approach that we're implementing is a tried and true process that was developed by the National Trust for Historic Preservation and is now a subsidiary of the National Trust, an independent nonprofit, the National Main Street Center. And it's really looking at all of those elements that make for a successful downtown. It's having that organizational structure with the Lakeview Community Partnership that has that focus on the downtown. There's many organizations in the community that are doing good work, but to be a good partner and to give that laser-like focus that you can through downtown organization can help support those other organizations as well as help really implement that comprehensive process. Folks on the design committee, you're looking at the physical things that happen in the district. That's both public and private sector. So trying to encourage adaptive reuse of historic buildings through building renovations, bringing back that historic character if it's been lost, leveraging some of the financial resources that are out there to help property owners and business owners restore their buildings. It's also working with business owners on visual merchandising techniques and window displays and everything in the public right of way too, those public sector improvements. You know, are our sidewalks clean and safe? Do we have hanging flower baskets or public art? All of those things that create a sense of place and community and really enhance the pedestrian feel are part of the design. You're not expected to tackle everything all at once. You have to prioritize, especially when it's a volunteer effort. So don't start panicking yet. Okay, we're not dumping everything on you at once. Economic restructuring is the third element of the Main Street 4-point approach. The National Main Street Center is actually renaming that economic vitality. We've had 30+ years of calling it economic restructuring, and finally they're giving up the ghost because nobody likes the word restructuring, and so they're renaming it vitality. We have a lot of communities that call it economic development, business development, economic enhancement, but we're moving forward with economic vitality. And that's really retaining the businesses that we have, making sure that they have the tools and training and techniques to be successful in business and being a support to them. And then recruiting businesses to fill vacancies as well. And kind of identifying some opportunities. Market analysis is a big chunk of work that community does. And some fun exercises for that community is doing like a business cluster analysis. What businesses do you already have? And trying to see what clusters you naturally have emerging already. And you can look at clusters, comparable clusters or competitive clusters. Those are businesses that sell like goods and services. So if you had like 4 jewelry stores, that would be a competitive cluster. And you often see that, at least you used to at the malls on the 100% corner, because they knew by having those 4 businesses together, it strengthened each other because they each had something a little bit different. And you knew if you went to the mall, you might be able to find what you were looking for. Our downtowns have naturally emerging clusters. You can also look at clusters where businesses sell related merchandise. So if you know, wedding, for example, a wedding cluster would be one where you had a tuxedo rental place, you had a bridal shop, you had a florist, you had a caterer, you had a printer. All of those are businesses that you could market together as a wedding cluster. So one of the tasks, a fun project for that committee is really to look at all of your businesses and begin to cluster them together in different ways. And we have some forms and techniques and ways to do that as well. And then promotion is an important part of the economic development piece, because you can strengthen and retain the businesses and recruit to fill vacancies. You can fix up the buildings, but if you don't invite people in to experience all those changes, you won't be as successful as you possibly can. And so that's what the promotion committee is tasked with, coming up with business development activities, special event activities, business generating activities, people ringing the registers as a direct result of those events taking place. So that's what each of your committees are tasked with. In Lakeview, the organization committee will be the board of directors right now as they get started. Over time, that will have to spin off into its own, because that committee is working with volunteer development, it's working with fundraising, it's working with promoting and marketing the overall revitalization effort. And so those are some foundation activities that need to take place. The board's taking it on right now, but over the long haul, you'll probably find most often sooner than later that you actually need that committee in place. I wanted to toss this up here too. We have those 4 points of Main Street, but there's some guiding principles to keep in mind. Main Street's a comprehensive program. We don't just work on design activities. We don't just work on business development. What we have found over the long haul for communities to be successful is really to have that comprehensive overall revitalization effort. It's an incremental process. Change doesn't happen overnight. Wherever your community is at right now in its revitalization, that didn't happen overnight. And it certainly will take some time to get it to be the point where you want it to be as well in the future. It's self-help, recognizing that all of the talent, all of the energy, all of the creativity we need, all of the resources are really right here in the community. It's just tapping into those resources and leveraging those resources and utilizing them as effectively as possible. It's a public-private partnership, so that we really need the public sector to step up. We need community members, we need business owners, property owners to be involved in the revitalization effort. We also need the partnership of local government and their support, and to recognize that it is that true partnership. Look at whatever point that you're working on, what are the assets in your community based upon that, and capitalize on those existing assets. If it's the economic development component, that's your existing businesses. They've already shown a commitment to your community, so it's really capitalizing on those assets and helping them to be successful as possible. In design, it's your architectural and your historic and heritage resources to really leverage and capitalize on, because that sets your community apart from every other. Whatever historic buildings you have, it's the character of your community, it's that visual record of your community, and it really sets you apart from all others. Promotion, your assets are all of those things. It's the history, it's the heritage, it's the mix of businesses. All of those assets are opportunities to promote and market and create activities around to really capitalizing on those activities. In viewing the work that you do in quality, think of one of the most historic buildings intact and integrity that you have in our town. Most likely, if you looked up, you'd see a date and often a name on the building, because people built things with pride. So much so that they wanted to slap their name on it and the date that they built that building. And those buildings have stood the test of time. They're still standing, most often 100 or more years later. A lot of the stuff we're building these days, I don't know that it will be lasting that long. And those buildings can last 100 more years if we maintain them and really focus on doing things in an equality manner in our downtown. Also, we want to look at change and recognize that change happens in communities. A lot of folks, when I first come in and talk about Main Street and all of the stuff that's going to be happening as a result of your revitalization effort, are like, whoa, wait a minute, we like our town just fine the way it is. And it's recognizing that change will happen regardless. Change is happening every day. Paint's peeling off the building, weeds are growing up in the sidewalk, whatever those changes are, positive or negative in a community, change happens. It's recognizing that that change happens and deciding to embrace that and direct it instead of just let it happen to us. And then we're action-oriented with the Main Street approach too. I started out my career thinking that I was going to go into the planning field. And no offense to our local government representatives, but I quickly learned if I was an urban planner or a city planner, everybody would hate me. And then I'd be developing a lot of plans that might sit on a shelf. And then I fell into Main Street, and what I really liked about it is it's really positive. It's not prescriptive. It's things that people want to happen and want to make happen that are part of it. So it's a very positive focus in that sense, and it's also action-oriented. That's why you have copies of these action plans in front of you. Don't just say what we want to happen. We sit down and plan out what are all of the tasks that need to happen to do a particular activity, who's going to do it, how much is it going to cost, and then get this approved and move forward with implementation. That's what I mean by being action-oriented. So it's important to keep those principles in mind. And recognize that here at Oregon Main Street, we're here as a resource for you to come out and do trainings and workshops beyond today. Hopefully you'll have some time to think and begin to plan activities, and in a few months if you need me to come back and do a check-in with your community and to help kind of energize you and keep you moving forward. You have that ability because you're participating in our Oregon Main Street network. So all of the services that we offer to you are free of charge, and so we provide that technical assistance. We also do an annual conference. Well, it's actually we're moving to an every other year. We do a conference. This year, it will be in the Dalles, October 7th to 9th. And this year, it is free to everybody to attend the conference. It's a 2.5-day conference, and we have sessions in each of the 4 points of Main Street. So, and both for new organizations and long-standing organizations. So if you have the opportunity to attend, I encourage you to do so. We do have registration open, and the information should be up on our website soon, but I think Ray and Ginger has the information as well. Fundamentally, we like to serve as a resource center, so as I mentioned, I have a lot of samples of ideas, so as you're working on something, say the Economic Development Committee wanted to do a business survey and wanted to see some samples of business surveys. I have that. Or if they decide to do a cluster analysis, I have example and information on how to do a cluster analysis. Say the promotion committee wanted to know how to do a chocolate lovers walk or a girls' night out. I have samples of those kinds of things. So a lot of good information we have in our resource center. So just wanted to make sure that you knew. And when I was first here to do the community meeting, I was talking about legislation that had been introduced. And I'm pleased to tell you that that legislation actually passed. It created a $2.5 million Oregon Main Street Revitalization Grant Program. The program is to fund bricks and mortar type projects that spark economic development. It will be funded through lottery bonds. The lottery bonds won't be sold until spring of 2017. So we have a lot of time to go through the rules making process and to work with communities to get projects that will be good candidates for this grant program. We don't know a lot of the details. We just know that the legislative intent was really intended to go for bricks and mortar, really actual projects, again, that has that economic development component to it. 50%, at least a minimum of 50% of the funds need to be distributed to rural underserved Oregon. So sound like you're a good candidate, huh? So our intent is to get through the rules-making process and get the applications, and then to do a series of workshops to talk about how to get prepared and how to identify likely candidates, likely projects, and help you work with candidates to apply for that grant program. We intend to have the grant open before the lottery bonds are sold, so that as soon as they're sold, we can distribute the money and not have to wait until after they're sold. So that's our intent on our end.
Is that going to be administered through SHPO in your office?
Yes, it is. Yep, that little tweet came through. So, and thanks to John for actually attending one of the hearings. He came up to Salem and testified on behalf of that. I will say it passed with only 1 nay in the Senate and only 2 nays in the House. So that's pretty broad-based bipartisan support. So I think that's an indication of the good work that communities across Oregon are doing really well in their downtown. So that's on the horizon for you all to keep an eye on. And just so that you know, organizationally, this is kind of how Main Street programs are set up. You'll have your board of directors. If you have staff, they will be there, and then each of the communities working on a variety of projects. In your handouts, there's a few things. There's the handout of Why Downtown's Important. There's the Main Street approach and the 8 guiding principles, just so that you have those as a reminder what I'm talking about. You have a copy of the organizational chart. And then you have some committee roles and responsibility and some checklists for each of those committees. When you look at this checklist, again, don't gasp. We don't expect you to do all of that, but it gives you a general idea of the areas of responsibility in the committee that you're interested in serving on. We also gave you a copy of the handbook that was put together by the National Main Street Center, so they've made these available online now. They used to sell them, but now they're free. And so it talks about your point too, so it gives you a little bit. I kind of took a lot of this information and consolidated that into the checklist, but you'll know the source material there. It's your bedside reading, you know. You can't go to sleep at night, just pull that in. That'll take care of that. So, any questions so far? We're going to get into the kind of nitty-gritty here real soon. And again, keep in mind that stakeholders in downtown, the list is long, and this is only a partial list. Again, everybody has a stake in what happens in the downtown, from kids who you want to retain, get them involved in projects and activities, to the retail business owners, service business owners, property owners. Everyone has a stake. Residents, neighborhood associations, churches, civic organizations, economic development groups, the local government. Everyone has a stake in what happens in the downtown. So finding ways to involve them and engage them in volunteer opportunities with your organization. The more you can do that at the outset, the stronger you will be over the long haul. So general roles of committees, and many of you, I'm sure, throughout your life have served on one committee or another, either through school or work or with your kids or at your church. But I'm going to go over some general principles just to make sure that we're all on the same page with how committees function. It's absolutely critical when you have a 100% volunteer organization that we really understand the role of committees versus the board and who makes decisions at one point. So we're going to focus on the committees, but I'll bring in some of the areas where you will be touching in with the board of directors as well. So general committee roles. If you're serving on a committee, these are the general expectations. We do expect committees to meet on a regular basis. It's often helpful for you to establish a regular meeting time, just so that everybody gets it on their calendar. Keep those committee meetings short and tight, so that you're using time strategically. And I always find if we can keep it to an hour, then people don't feel as burdened. So keep focused, have an agenda, and get through that agenda. And then if you want to chit chat and all of that after the meeting, that's great. But get through the business so that those that need to go back to work or get on with the rest of their life can, and those that have time to sit and relax and enjoy each other's company, you have that ability. I'm speaking from experience because I was a Main Street manager when I started my career for 8 years in a small town in the state of Washington. And my committees had distinctly different characteristics. My promotion committee, they were all people. And they wanted to just like chat and talk about people's dogs and babies and get tips and everything for like half an hour before we even started. Me, I'm kind of like a project-oriented person. Like, here's our agenda, this is what you need to do, and they would just look at me and, you know, I wasn't buying into the social aspect. So we had to come to a happy compromise. We would get through our agenda, and then I would open the bottle of wine for them. And then they could chat as long as they wanted. But we had to get our work done first. So that was our compromise there. So each of your committees will have different personalities. But the more you can keep focused and have that agenda, then relax after you get your work done. That's being respectful of people's time and energy as well. Develop written work plans. I gave you a starter kit here. These may need to be tweaked a little bit. I might not have had the most recent version of the goals and objectives the board developed in a goal setting session that I facilitated. But that will give you a general idea of the work plans and how to fill these out. And we're going to go through these in depth. Some of you are going to love me, and some of you are going to hate me. Some of you are like, I just want to do a project. Let's just, you know, do the downtown trick or treat and let's just go for it. Other people are going to go, no, we got to get that planned out. Who's going to get the barricades? Who's going to be the cross guards? Who's going to be this? People are going to love these. The rest of you are not going to like me so much. But I tell you, especially as a volunteer organization, the more you get yourselves in the habit of creating these work plans, the better off you'll be. That way you won't let anything fall through the cracks. And you will know whether or not you have the resources or the time to put something on effectively. So please, everybody take a pledge. 90% of our activities, we promise, Sheri, we will use the form, okay? All right, we're all good. You're sworn in. It is the role of the committees not only to come up with the ideas, but to implement those projects as well. That's another reason why these work plans are important, so that you're not doing all the work all the time. Because when you look at this, you'll see the person responsible, but you also see a column for partners. So an ability, you'll have jobs laid out, then you can sit down and figure out, well, who do we know that might be interested in working on this project or doing that one thing? It's the kitty parade, we want somebody to paint faces. Do we know a high school art student that might be able to do the kids' face painting? Can we contact them? That way you're not doing all of the tasks. Okay? That will save you time in the long haul. So implementing projects based upon how you lay them out is very important. Reporting to the board your progress. So one of the roles of the board is to establish overall goals and objectives for each of the committees. And those are kind of broad, but it's the committee's responsibility to come up with specific activities to meet those goals and objectives. And then to do the written work plan, give it to the board reviews it and approves it, and then it goes back to you to implement. As long as you stay on task with your work plan and within budget, you're good to go. They don't have to micromanage you, but you need to update them periodically. Yes, we're on track. You usually do that through reports at the board meeting. Usually a board member will be serving on each of the committees, but if they're not, then we ask either the chair or one of the committee members to come or submit a written report to the board, just so that they know where you're on track. Those reports to the board, if you're at the board meeting, are 5 minutes, no more, okay? Because we're not using the board meeting to plan the events and activities. We're just making sure that everybody's firing on all cylinders. The committees are responsible for record keeping as well. So having a form to track, that's the other reason why the work plan can be that record keeping tool. Because if you're using this, then you're just pulling it out and you can use it, jot down your progress, completion notes, those kinds of things as you go forward. If not, in this community handbook, they have kind of a little format too that you can use, and I have other sample forms too if you need it. So any questions about general roles and responsibilities of the committees? Remember, every activity that you come up with, before you get too far along, has to be approved by the board, because they're keeping the big picture on the financial resources that are available to help implement projects and activities. Some of those you may be asked to come up with your own budget, and the board needs to approve that so that they know that you're not asking the same person another committee is asking to help fund or support a project, or you're not trying to go after the same grant as another committee. So that conduit of approval is essential. They're the fiscal agents for the organization. That may sound simple, but I had a community when I was with the National Needs Aid Center. I did this kind of work all across the country. In one of the communities, I went in and I did a program evaluation in Kansas, which I won't name. They got so enthused after going through a training. Their promotion committee came up with this Heritage Days activity, and they were going to fly in all of these founding families from wherever they were at to be in the parade, and they were just so excited, and it was a wonderful parade. And they spent the whole organization's budget for the year on that one event because they didn't have a good process. It's literally true. They didn't have a good process for informing the board, and they were making expenditures without having the authority. In their case, they were lucky. The city stepped in and covered their expenses, but said, if you ever did this again, we are not giving you another dime. So they were fortunate in that. So having that conduit of information is very important. Each of the committees, we ask that somebody steps up to be chair of that committee. Some of the communities that I'm working with here in Oregon find co-chairs are important. If you have co-chairs, make sure that it is somebody leading the organization. In some cases, I've seen that co-chairs mean there's no chair because nobody's really taking responsibility. So it doesn't really matter to me which format you find most useful. It's just making sure that you do have somebody who's running the meetings, provides that leadership, helps recruit volunteers, helps the community organize the workload. Again, the work plan form will help you organize that workload. And make sure too that people are only serving on one committee and not multiple committees. Some communities I work with, folks get so enthusiastic that they're sitting on all of the committees, and then they get burned out. And then they're like, oh, no, I can't do it anymore. And it's like, yeah, no wonder. You know, really, you have to kind of help them help themselves. The committee chair will help prepare the agenda and might get feedback from other people. The committee chair is responsible for running the meeting, helping to delegate tasks. So you don't want a committee chair that says, okay, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that, because then you'll have a committee chair that will burn themselves out too. So make sure that they're, helping encourage and facilitate discussion, helping facilitate delegating tasks as well. Make sure too that all committee members' opinions are heard and respected, but also as a committee chair, although every once in a while some people are very passionate about something, and they'll get up on their soapbox, and they'll all of a sudden you've lost 20 minutes or half an hour of your committee precious time. And so the committee chair's role is to be respectful and just tell people at the outset, if I cut you off, I'm not being rude, but we have an agenda to get through, and so be happy to talk to you outside the agenda, but we've got work. But you do want to have people have the ability to share a little bit, but not overshare. And again, it's usually the committee chair's responsibility, or if you have a board member who's sitting on your committee, be that conduit of information back to the board. Any questions about the committee member or the chair responsibility? These are all summarized on this one page too, that says committee descriptions and roles. So role of a committee chairperson, kind of summarize these bullet points if we need to. So as a committee member, what we ask is that you commit to at least a year's worth of service, because we want you to get through the process and the joy of both planning and implementing your year's work of activities. And if you just have people continual cycle on, then you won't be having that forward momentum. And things I know come up, but the more that you can commit to that year, it's better for the organization and the revitalization overall. If you do serve on a committee, get that regular committee meeting schedule, and it is a responsibility to attend those meetings. It's demoralizing for committees whenever you have members, and then only a couple people show up, and then so they're doing the best they can and planning out whatever it is that's on your work plan, and then at the next meeting, a couple more people show up, and maybe not one of those initials, so you have to rehash everything again. So you feel like you don't have that forward momentum, because you're always going backwards to catch people up and you're not moving forward. So it's very important to attend the meetings. Typically what you can expect if you serve on a committee is to serve about 3 to 5 hours a month. Promotion committee, if you have events going on, and it's the one that you're probably going to be putting in a little bit more time, and so that's why it's important sometimes to form some subgroups and task forces to implement your projects and activities so you're not all trying to do everything all the time. Attend training opportunities as they relate to your 4-point committee. Often at the state, we'll have specific training that we do regionally or at our network meeting. I've brought in people that are experts in promotion planning, or I've brought in people on sponsorship development, or people on personal and property development, so specialists in different categories and offer trainings for free, and we move those around the state. So if you're able to, some of our communities really have a lot of people at Dayton, a little town on the west side. They always bring 5 to 6 people to the trainings that's relevant to them, as you can. But I know people have busy lives too, but we do want to make sure that you do have the tools that you need to do the job that you've taken on. Prepare for meetings, so if you've taken on an activity in between committee meetings, then prepare for that. Do your homework and follow through on the promises that you committed to. Every once in a while things will come up, just make sure that the committee chair knows that, I took on this, but this just happened in my life, so I can't do that. Can you find somebody else, or I'll try and find somebody else. Just make sure that if you can't follow through, and we all understand that things happen, but communicating that is better rather than waiting until you're too far through the process and having to regroup. Assist in helping recruit other committee members. If you're inspired and you're having a good time, don't you want other people that you know to be able to work on some of the projects and activities with you. Help draft and implement the work plan, and always present the downtown revitalization effort in a positive manner to the public. Because you're all volunteers, so you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart, so just share that public positive enthusiasm that you have for the work that you do. Where to find volunteers? I have a little cheat sheet in your handouts that looks like this. So it's something that periodically you would want to update. Who's the committee members, who's the chair, when's the meeting going to be held, and so you can always jot down ideas of other people on this worksheet as well. Generally, who should serve on the committee? anyone who has an interest in what you're doing. When I was recruiting volunteers when I was a student manager, I thought our Edward Jones guy would be great for the Economic Development Committee, so I kept trying to get him on that committee, and he kept having coffee, but he never came to the committees, and so finally he was like, look, Sheri, I work with numbers all day long, I want to be on the promotion committee, I want to work on the climate, and I'm like, Russ, why didn't you tell me that, like, 5 gallons of coffee ago? You know, you can be wherever you want. I just thought that would be using some skills that you have. So fundamentally, place people where they have an interest and a passion. Sometimes it's going to be because they feel comfortable sharing their skills. Sometimes it's going to be because they want to learn new skills. Or sometimes it's just to do something fun and different. That's outside of the normal walk of life. So, you know, when you're placing volunteers, it's just going to be a matter of finding out what's their motivation and what interests them. Because Main Street, there's a depth and a breadth, so there's really something for everybody. But these are just some likely candidates who we normally would look at as opportunities for serving on each of those committees. And if you want a copy of this PowerPoint afterwards, I'm happy to share this with you too. A lot of it's in your handouts and your materials. I think each of the committee handbooks has a section on who's likely candidates to serve on that committee. In terms of managing the committees, sometimes it's the president or the board chair who appoints the committee chairs. Sometimes it's kind of an organic thing. You all show up at the committee meeting and you all look at each other and somebody says, well, I'll do it. The other people, like was the last one who walked in the room, they were elected chair. So it can be organic. But looking for that leadership is important and kind of helping them do the job that they've been asked to do. Again, the committee chair is the one usually that makes the report at the board meeting. Again, that's a 5-minute report. But again, it could be the board member. Again, the board approves a work plan. You develop these written work plans, the board approves them, gives it back to you. You move forward with implementation. They need to go back to the board for reauthorization if the fiscal impact changes on the organization. So something you thought was going to be a $500 event is now a $1,000 event that needs to go back to the board for approval. Because they're the fiscal agents. That's one of their legal duties is to, monitor funds for the organization. So they need to approve any financial impacts. And if the date changes, that needs to go back to the board. Because the board's keeping the big picture look on who's doing projects and activities. So what you don't want is everybody doing their big activity all in October or all in May, because you're going to be stretching your volunteer base too thin. You want to make sure there's activity throughout the year. So some things are going to be time sensitive. You do a downtown trunk or treat, promotion committee gets Halloween, October 31st. So no other committee has that date. So just be a little bit respectful of things that are less time sensitive. And let those committees that do have that time sensitivity have those dates of projects. And usually that's something that the board's going to be taking a look at as well. When you do have your committees and you're moving forward, sometimes you'll begin to feel some frustration. And so sometimes when these meetings fail, why our committee meetings or board meetings, you have unclear objectives. It's like, why are we here today? So, and you can alleviate some of that by having an agenda. And if you truly don't have a reason to meet, which goes contrary to saying have a regular meeting schedule and always meet. If you truly don't have something that you need, give yourself a break and just say we'll be back on board next month. But most often you're going to have a reason for meeting, so just be very clear about what those reasons are. And again, keep it focused. Don't try and have too medium agenda because you'll get burned out really quickly if your meetings begin to be 2-hour meetings or 3-hour meetings when you only intended them to be 1 hour, which is another thing that like to start meeting and stop on time too. So committees will feel like they're not making forward progress if they don't have clear accomplishments. So having those milestones in place. So even for the Economic Development Committee, if you need a market analysis process, that could kind of be ongoing for a few months. You guys send the benchmarks that you can have your moments of celebration. Yay, we completed the customer survey. Yay, we completed the business survey. So whatever those are, so that you feel like you have some clear accomplishments as you move forward. Lack of involvement. You show up regularly and it's just the two of you that are there, and where's the rest of the committee? So you can begin to feel like nobody cares about the work that you're doing if you don't have people attending the meeting. Usually that lack of involvement relates back to the first 2 points. People stop dropping out if they feel like they don't know what's being accomplished, or that the meetings aren't focused and moving forward, or that they don't feel like their time's being used wisely, or that they're valued for the work that they're doing. Other reasons, if there's no record of decision or who needs to do what by when. But you won't have that issue because, again, you'll have your written work plan that has those deadlines on them. So those shouldn't be issues for you. Any questions about the general roles and responsibilities of committees? Any questions? Any peers? I have a scary video. All right, then we're doing good. It's just some basic. I'm trying to help you avoid some issues down the line by kind of getting this all on the same point. So now we're going to really go into action plan development. What are the elements of this, and why? If I haven't convinced you already, why they're important. So this is the form that you have in front of you. You don't have to use this form, but I want to point out some of the elements that are important in an action plan so that you do your due process in planning each of the projects and activities that you undertake. So some of the things, the key elements. One, which committee is it? So you have a complete set of action plans in front of you with all of the draft goals and objectives that we came up with at the board meeting laid out by each committee. So each committee has an overarching goal, the reason for it being in place. So this will be the same for the organization committee on every work plan form, what its goal is. In this case, this is the organization committee. The goal of the organization committee is to develop the leadership and foster volunteer engagement to build a strong and sustainable community organization. So each of your committees will have just one overarching goal. I call that kind of its mini mission statement, its reason for being. So, and again, these may have been tweaked a little bit up until since that meeting. So that's the organization goal. The economic development is to create a vibrant downtown that supports destination retail and restaurant establishments, inviting to residents and visitors. The design goal is to create an attractive and inviting downtown through improvements that build on the walkability of the district and enhance the community's historic character. And the promotion committee goal is to encourage area residents to rediscover downtown Lakeview through events and activities that bring people together to relax and socialize and build community pride and involvement. So those are the reasons your committees exist. And that will be consistent on each of your forms for your committee. Now the objectives, each committee has 3 to 5 objectives. And those are more actionable items. And we will break down the objectives into specific projects or activities that you want to undertake. So for example, the objective on this one is to develop sustainable leadership. And so what the organization committee would do with this particular work plan then looking at that objective, they would brainstorm all different ways that they could develop sustainable leadership. They would talk about activities to recruit new leaders, ways to train, ways to recognize people that are volunteering with your organization, opportunities for partnering with other folks. So really kind of developing that leadership. They would pick one of those projects or activities and they would list it up here. Say they wanted, one of the things to develop leadership is they thought recognizing the people that have contributed their time to keep people engaged and involved, we need to recognize that what they've done. So their project or activity would be, say, doing a volunteer recognition activity. Maybe it's a Thanks with Franks barbecue for everybody who's volunteered. So they're going to do a Thanks with Franks barbecue. So what they would need to do is say, what's our anticipated outcome? Well, we want at least 75% of our volunteers, everybody who's volunteered, to attend this Thanks with Franks barbecue. We would like the local newspaper to do a front page story on our volunteers and how great they are, and maybe take a few pictures at our events. And so that's an anticipated outcome here as well. We also want to encourage all of our volunteers to bring somebody with them that hasn't volunteered with our group. So we also want this to lead to at least 10 new volunteers for our organization as a direct result of it taking place. So those are anticipated outcomes. So for every activity that you undertake, however small or big, think about, why are we doing this? Not just because it's fun and it's good, but what do we actually want to achieve? What are those outcomes? What are those measurables that we can put down as anticipated outcomes? And we would want to list those out there. We would want to have who's the chair and our committee members. And then for this project, the Thanks with Frank's barbecue, how we would use this form at the committee planning meeting is we would list out all of the tasks that need to happen to do a Thanks with Frank's barbecue. Okay? We need to send out, we need to get a good list of everybody who's volunteered their time and talent. We want to do some fun awards and recognitions of that, so we need to come up with what those awards are going to be. We need to gather up barbecues to barbecue the hot dogs. We're going to go to Safeway and see if they'll donate the hot dogs and buns to us. So whatever you need to do to make sure that happens, you list that out there as a task. Next to each of those tasks, you would put who's going to do that task. Don't put committee. Because is it the committee that's going to call Safeway to get the donation? No. It's going to be somebody on the committee, so put that person's name down so that you know who's responsible for each of those activities. Are you going to partner with anybody on this? So it might be another organization or a group, and so you would want to list out who those partners are in this column. If you had staff, you would add another column here on staff time. But right now, you're 100% volunteer. For each of the tasks that you've listed out, you need to put a due date. When do we have to have that task done to ensure that this project is moving along? So each task would have a due date assigned next to it. We would have a budget listed here. Okay, getting the list of volunteers, that's not going to take us any money. Doing awards, we might want to budget $50. We're going to paint a light bulb gold and call it the Bright Idea Award, so that's not going to take. We're just going to buy a can of gold paint and spray paint a bunch of stuff gold. And we're going to have our Golden Sweep Award, we're going to have our Bright Idea Award, whatever our awards are. But what budget is it going to be for the awards? Barbecues, no budget there because we're going to borrow them. We might have to buy bouquets, so all of those things. So then we add up this budget column, and that's going to be the total dollar amount here. Now, are we going to charge for that?
Or is it all gonna be free, or are we gonna get a sponsor? We need to know the bottom line, the fiscal impact on the organization. And then what you do, once you have these all completed, they go to the board, again for approval, and then they come back to you to implement the project. And then at the committee meeting, then you just pull these out, and then you can jot down notes. Did we contact safely? Did we get all of the stuff that we want to make the awards, all of those kinds of things. So we can use this as a live planning form at the committee meeting. So to me, it's fine if it's all handwritten, that it doesn't have to be all typed in ink. Because if I see a handwritten one, then I know that you're actually using it. So, and if you capture all of this information, and then you do this barbecue again next year, then guess what? It's already done. It's only this first year that's hard. You know, that you have to go through all those steps. Because next year, you can just pull it out and say, oh, that's where we got the porta potties. Oh, that's where we got the barbecues. Oh, that's how we did that. You don't have to rethink everything. All you have to do is update and figure out what worked and what didn't work and where we need to update. So it's only once you get through this process, you'll have that starter kit, and it will be part of the institutional memory for the organization. So those are kind of the elements of the work plans. Any questions about these elements? Speak now for a whole piece, because you're going to be doing these. And some projects will have kind of like a clear flow, and some won't, and some, will kind of circle back and arrows and all of those kinds of things, and that's okay. It doesn't have to, be perfect. So, this is where we're striving for useful, so something that's useful for you. And again, these are the elements that I find it's important to capture. You don't have to do it in this kind of format. If you come up with something else that's more useful for you, I think the simpler the better is good. And this is one case. It depends on your community. Some people try and go to like online Google Docs or other kinds of things, but some community members aren't computer versed, some aren't. Some forget to go on and on and on. I always find it's just best to have a bunch of these blank sheets at the community meetings so that you always have something to begin to, as you're discussing projects and activities, just appoint somebody to be the note taker for that particular activity. Kind of share that responsibility throughout the community. So, any questions, Justin? So, an appropriate use for this is when your committee is working on an activity. For instance, our committee is going to be working on making a list of potential businesses that would be good downtown, and as soon as our friendly design committee is completed with their task of doing an inventory of what's downtown, then we can kind of determine. But we would use this to get ourselves started.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they would use this possibly to get themselves started on the inventory. And promotion, I don't know what promotion's next activity is, but they use
Burning
this.
Man car wash.
Yeah, Burning Man car wash.
Sorry, can we do that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I kind of gave you this starter kit. And as you go through these, so each of them will have, again, the goal and the objective. Look at that objective. And while there's tons of great ideas out there in the universe, look at that objective and brainstorm things to meet that objective, because those goals and objectives have been established by the board and kind of give an overall direction to the revitalization effort for this first year. Right now, it's a huge learning curve. Learning what the Main Street approach is, learning some of these processes, learning the range of activities. And so this year, there's just that huge learning curve. But we'll stick through it. We'll get you through this phase and kind of get you into the habit of using some of these tools and techniques to keep you on track. In a year, we can come out and do a more strategic visioning or goal-setting session with all of the committees together and begin to get a little bit more strategic and where you're all kind of working more collaboratively. But for the first year, I kind of like you to just kind of get your toes in the water and learn what the Main Street approach is, learn kind of what those ranges of projects and activities are, and just kind of get used to working together as a community and as an organization. So I guess I'm asking you to take that little bit of leap of faith and, you know, kind of buy into this process, and we'll get you through it. We are, you know, partner with you, so you're always free to give me a call and say, hey, we're having trouble through this, can you kind of talk us through this? Or email. Email's good, I'm on the road a lot, and you don't want me calling you back at 11 o'clock at night, I'm pretty sure. So your significant others should probably want you to. So any questions about the work plan form?
I was going to suggest maybe Ginger could give an overview of what we've done in our committee in terms of, you know, our 501c3 and that kind of thing, because that would impact what the committees do. I mean, I think there's quite a few people here that don't know, you know, the last few months that we've been working on.
Okay, so the board of directors, we now have a board of 7 people, and the president of the board is Rob Nichols. The vice president is Ann Logan. I'm the secretary treasurer, and then we have some members at large, and that would be John Kogar, Ray Sims, and Ken Kestner, who's a commissioner, and Karen Bunch. And we've been meeting on a very regular basis, and we have filed for our Oregon tax exempt corporation papers, and that is complete. We, as soon as like tomorrow, when I am able to enter the information into the IRS website, we will begin the journey of our 501c3 process, and we have been consulting with Don Liddicoat, who's been helping us with that. We're opening a bank account. We just got our EIN number, all those kinds of things. We're, you know, getting all the internal things together to act as a nonprofit organization. The work that these committees, you know, that our committees are embarking on are incredibly important. We have, as a board, really tried to understand how it's going to work internally, and this meeting is really, really helpful and really important, because it's going to, you all are going to understand how the committee work is going to flow, and that will help us as a board. I'm the chairperson for the economic development or economic revitalization, what?
Vitality.
Vitality, thank you very much. Don't even know the name of my committee. And John Kogar is the chair for the design committee, and Ann Logan for promotion. We decided that it was really important to have a board member as being the chairperson initially to get started. It may always be that way, so that we can really stay closely involved, because as a board, ultimately we're responsible for the actions of the committee, and also have a fiduciary responsibility to the nonprofit. So we're pretty interested in making sure that doesn't translate. I'm really hoping that that doesn't come off as being a translation that we're controlling. What we want to do is guide and you know, be really responsible for this organization, because we want it to go forward. And the last thing is that we do need insurance. We have applied for insurance, liability insurance, and board of directors insurance, and that information hasn't come back to us yet. It takes a little while for it to happen, but that is one of the things that's a huge consideration, is because we'll be involved in doing activities in the community. There is insurance, I mean, there is liability risk. So one of the questions I was gonna ask Sheri, and I don't know if this is really the appropriate time, but we, the insurance agent that we're working with is doing a really good job, but had a lot of questions about how is, you know, this is an unfamiliar territory for him, so he's trying to understand so he can explain to the underwriter. And I just wondered if there, in your experience, if there are easier ways of explaining what are, I mean, some companies are probably getting used to or have some experience with Main Street programs, but in terms of the, most especially for activities that we might be involved with, like we were this weekend, you know, if we begin sponsoring things like that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'll give you some information outside, but also what we can do is connect them with some of the insurance agents that are insuring local organizations in their communities and what they do.
Yeah,
so we
that'd
can
be
kind
great.
of help connect him that way too.
Right. And I just wanted to say that's another reason why it's really important that the work plans get done so that we can be really upfront and clear with, I mean, any activity that we do that is out in the community has to go to the insurance company to get a liability voucher or whatever you call it for that particular activity.
This can also help you limit liability to your exposure, because if you can demonstrate that you had it well thought out, well, as a nonprofit, it won't prevent somebody from, suing you. It will limit. If you can demonstrate due diligence, it will help you out in those kinds of circumstances. So it's important for that reason as well. So a lot's actually been done in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
So it may not feel so much to you guys, but really that's a lot
No,
to
it does
tackle.
feel like a lot. But are there any other questions about just the beginning internal stuff we're working on? It seems like we're doing a lot of talking, a lot of planning, and there hasn't been a whole lot of action. But actually, there are things that we are working on. And if we don't do this piece, we're very likely to not get too far. And I really hope that isn't another grass fire.
The fire truck went out just 2 or 3 minutes ago, that way past this window.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I guess what I've learned talking to people in other communities, especially in Washington, the dentist program, that you got to realize it's got to be for the long haul. And I'm glad you said, agree to serve on the committee for 1 year, but longer if you want. But that's why we need to have so many people involved or enough. But to realize that it's going to take a while. We're talking about downtown empty buildings and that to sell them or repopulate them. That's going to take time. So I think it's important for us all to realize and to not give up hope. Just keep working toward that.
And what I'd like to do is to balance like the small, short, visible things with those ongoing stuff that you'll be tackling, one bite at a time. So what do I mean? So like for the design committee, if you're working on facade improvements and all of those important activities, what are some smaller scale stuff? Maybe you want to, work with some of the historic society or museums or folks interested in heritage, or and do like a historic coloring book, that you can give to kids that are of the historic buildings in downtown and some of the heritage businesses and those kinds of things. So something that is, short-term, achievable. You might get a high school student that needs to do a community service project to do that kind of an activity, or the high school arts class. So something that's fun and discreet, but at the same time you're working on some of the other tougher, longer-term kinds of pieces. So for each of the committees, I suggest finding those short-term as well as those long-term kinds of things to balance, so that you have some things that you can check off to as accomplishments.
I just wanted to commend John for painting his building down there. I think
Oh,
that
yeah. Thank you.
should be something
That was the Holloway's building.
well, you gained a painting, I guess.
Right.
I seen you.
Yeah.
But that's,
They needed some help, and it's all Ulyss's fault. He came up with the idea, and I ran with it.
And you just have to have the right equipment to do
Just
it.
happened to have a bucket truck.
We won't ask any questions about that.
And I
It's
even
not
have some
something everybody
pictures.
has parked in their backyard.
I've got some good pictures of them doing it down
So,
there too.
so that's
Cool.
great. Yeah.
big job.
So keep that in mind, and I appreciate you reinforcing the 1 year commitment, because it's gonna take a little time to plan it. And you wanna really be there for the implementation part, don't you? That's the payback, that's the payoff there. The work plan, just a reminder, that's your 12 to 18 month to-do list, so that's kind of the initial time frame as you're getting started that I work with communities. It's your project management tool, it's your volunteer management tool, it's your budgeting tool, it's your record keeping tool. So if I haven't said it before, I'm a believer in work plans. And again, the board has to approve those written work plans, but then the committees can move forward with implementation. So any other questions right now? All right, so the next piece, I know some of the committees have had a chance to meet, but others may not. What I want you to do is really look at those goals and objectives for each of your committees. We have about a good chunk of time. We wanted to give you an opportunity to get a jump start on your planning and your brainstorming and discussing some of the projects and activities. So again, look at the objectives and then kind of think what kinds of activities could we do to meet those. And then see if there's some that really rise to the top. And I wanted to give you a chance to actually work through one of your work plans for one of your project ideas that when you walked away from here tonight, you had at least one project work plan underway. So any questions about that? You have the full set, so flip through to the right committee for you and then look at the objectives. And what I'll do, I'm going to give you a little bit of time.
Let's work on the first one, because Robert needs an office
You
downtown
have a
really
lot of
bad.
folks there, if you want to move over here so you can stretch out, that's fine.
It'd be good to get away
Let's
from
work on
the
which
other two committees.
We need to fill a vacancy, because he needs an office the way he thought he was gonna get isn't gonna happen.
Well, it's gonna take longer than I thought.
So,
I'm totally confused.
oh, well, one of our things is to assist building owners in filling vacancies. It was sort of a joke, but it was sort of a joke.
I got it, I'm sorry.
It's
It's only been a while.
oh gosh. Yeah, so I
Okay, we
think
can do that.
that's laid out. Well, we could do it if you want, but do we know of any? I guess we're waiting for the inventory, basically, to jump in.
Yes.
So waiting to see what happens over there.
So if we,
To know what buildings are actually vacant or if
should we make
necessary,
that's
necessary.
So do you have that CD? I'll go ahead and download my PowerPoint onto that for you. Sorry for interrupting. But that way at least you'll have
Yes.
I think the inventory is, we probably need to.
You wanna do a project?
The inventory is one thing. The other thing that, and I wanted to see if we could borrow Sheri. The inventory is really kind of their thing.
Right.
So.
They're a partner.
Yeah, it's sort of a partnership. The other thing is trying to figure out what are the best, two things. What's the best fit in each one of the buildings?
Right.
And the other one is, what kinds of businesses do you want? There you go.
Well, we should have a mix of Probably, hi.
But I do have a quick question, because you mentioned regarding the car wash.
Oh, yeah, this is a good idea.
Is senior classes thinking about
Good.
that?
Good.
So, I don't know if that's,
No, I just
No, I
think
think
somebody
it's good.
should
We just
to
thought somebody
welcome
should.
them, so
Yeah.
they
And
should
then what
make
can we
money.
do to maybe help
We wanted
support
to
them?
support, and we were even thinking of getting different organizations to take on different days, because I was talking to some people, and people will come back from Saturday all the way till Monday.
oh yeah.
I guess they have a big temple burn or something
it's a
late
10
Sunday,
days.
so then that's, no, they have another one, and the
It's
diehards
10
will come
days. They've already
Monday.
started coming for
Yeah, well,
people
set
that
up people.
So maybe I can talk to you a little bit after.
Sure,
but,
well, whatever we could do, I mean, it sounds like you're hooked up with the school already, but
Yeah.
I thought it was a good opportunity, what if wrestling did one, what if baseball did one, what if cheerleaders did one, and we could keep it rolling?
Yeah. That's a great idea.
We would be very welcoming, and
We do have
people would make some money, I bet.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
The senior leaders are gonna meet on Tuesday with the kids, and so we'll know more on Tuesday. But I like having you.
Right, well, the last time we had the other meeting, this came up with the concept
So when you
of
break this out,
using some of the historic pictures
the inventory, which
for
probably really
posters
isn't on our
put in
sheet.
the
But then we
empty.
have,
We kind of can't do ours until we get it.
I love the idea.
Building.
What project are we doing? Are we really trying to,
That's a good project.
Holly wants to do the top?
If the committee thinks that,
And she's right, because we're not gonna, we're not gonna do all the vacancies, we're
Focusing
gonna.
on a project,
yes,
of the anticipated outcomes of the project,
So-
right?
the project is,
They're really done really well. So I just wanted to throw that out there, whether it's money raising for us or what.
well, we,
I mean,
I
it's
think
almost
we
like the
discussed
project,
this
Cheryl,
so
at some point.
project should be a miniature item that is used to reach the objective, but it's not a miniature item used to reach the goal, right? So when I say miniature project, but it's just building owners and building.
okay, one of the miniature projects would be,
The building.
Might be a possibility. But kind of-
What about
kind
a
of
survey
fundraising.
of
I
business,
think the calendar.
well, not a business
or
owner.
building owners?
Be quite simple.
Okay, so that might be something.
So
yes.
along those lines.
To ask if they really
I
have the spaces available for rent or not, and how much they think they can get in rent, so that we can investigate if that matches the
I like
dollar
that a
for
lot.
market
The
value and stuff.
library.
And what does it
Had
build?
Right.
Right, and if it's not currently
response there.
for immediate rent, why?
So survey,
Survey says, and there's another survey.
owners, and the anticipated outcome is that we'll know, owner needs and, expected rent.
Well, we'll know what we are, we'll know what we already have and where we need more, like where areas we're lacking and where we need to put time and research.
Well, the outcome of our survey though for now will be, we'll identify owner needs,
Library sounds like it goes so well.
And
anticipated rent,
It wasn't a bad thing, but it.
limitations,
So I think that's,
repairs.
Facade
you
repair.
can decide which of the objectives create more charges and
Identify owner needs, building limitations, so.
Which kind of goes into designs, but at least the
Right.
survey.
You might as well not ask people to answer questions from every committee, they'll go crazy, yeah. So maybe one of our tasks is to get with design and see what they'd like to see on the survey too.
And some of it you'll be crossing out.
We still sort of need that inventory so we can track down the owners, right?
People said they did, there wasn't anybody left.
And it's a good project.
So, ask design what they want the survey.
I'll start this one, I'll start one, and we'll
And the calendar would be funny, right?
Yes.
Holly's gonna do all of the things, she already said. Before we got here, she said, I want all of the tasks.
I know all of the action items.
I think it.
What's your favorite
I
one?
got one. Yes, I did.
The design committee is getting a list of vacant buildings or.
Inventory and everything.
We developed the pictures, this is part of
If you want to know.
what our committee is doing, I think each committee could
possible,
do their own
Yeah.
preservation and help utilize that money. But that would be a decision of the board.
What are we calling the downtown store?
It isn't, it hasn't been defined, but that's their.
The promotions, so they have their own ideas and, you know, we come to them and say, okay, we want you to do this.
It's okay.
That's great.
I guess there's
So can we take the same photos that
I'm
you
sorry, what?
found?
I got it.
Jennifer's right.
Yes. Yes.
So,
That is one of the issues that we.
I mean, we'll ask to sign what they want on the survey, and then we have to write the survey.
The librarian was very worried
Should we
that
ask?
Getty photos
Sheri
that were
first.
donated to the library.
Yes, so we need to write a survey.
Actually belongs to the families.
I bet she's got surveys.
And you-
Ask Sheri for survey.
So then
We
who's
had
gonna add on cost, Sheri?
Maybe if we write everything down, we can divide it. That'd be a good idea. And we're gonna see what we're gonna eat here. This is a great project.
So there's Brian Hetty and.
So then
So, just on that subject about.
we have to contact business owners, contact building owners.
Some of them, but
I like the idea of trying to arrange meetings at the building and just getting that survey done. So you don't get them back and you never get them, questions answered.
I kind of figured out that there were probably maybe
I suppose
eight
it's up to an
buildings
attorney
what will
to figure that one out.
that we will.
If somebody came back and
About eight.
I
explained,
think that's about it, and maybe,
it's an issue.
there may be others, but,
Be a voice of dissent.
Please.
that we would need to do this for, I'm assuming we're talking about the buildings that are empty, right?
Yeah, because we are assist building owners in like vacancies.
Or the buildings with sketchy tenancy, like businesses, places I think every day they're gonna be closed, you know.
Come and go.
And that, she mentioned that as an important part of economic development.
So that's kind of an expansion of our objective. It's good.
Retention.
Filling vacancies.
So we could ask vacant or, I don't know what you would call it,
Assisting with retention.
endangered.
Assist building owners in filling vacancies and retaining tenants.
Of course,
What's that?
He's just started his property management. He's the only licensed one in town. You have to be licensed to work for a broker.
more beneficial to our ultimate goal.
So do we can't really complete date. Did John give you an idea on design complete date? Just since I'm looking at the top.
Maybe we should make a find out.
Okay, make that an action item. Design committee here. Like
Yeah.
ask design committee.
So that's really gonna be number one.
So done,
It will be nice to do something, Holly. That's a good idea. You want to use the form so bad. I know, but you actually love it.
You know, I-
Person responsible
one
is
of the things-
Ginger.
before you have to have it.
No, partners, we don't have any. The due date is right now. And the budget is $0. Very good. What else can we do before we're waiting for it? We can ask Sheri for the survey. Why don't you take care of that, Holly, right now? Ask Sheri for, she'll just send it to you in 1 second. So Holly is gonna do that. And she
We're just one of the
is
first.
going to do it by tomorrow. Goodness gracious.
It's gonna come
It's not gonna cost you any money. Okay. So, I think she might already be asking what design we'd like to see on the survey. So, well, what we know, this isn't this anymore. This is now
So maybe what we
And if a survey can't be done,
we had to work together about.
This is really discuss survey with design and customize.
Okay, that's good.
After we get to Sheri.
So they see themselves doing the survey.
The whole survey? Okay.
And they want to work with us on it.
Well, we would be happy to.
They see themselves doing that.
Okay.
So, but they don't know when,
So
they haven't
it's
got
like
a
a
timeframe.
one-step process.
So we need a whole new project.
Well, pictures,
Okay.
have a calendar.
Shall we work on packaging and marketing available incentives?
But we can't package incentives
Because we don't have enough inventory. So what can we do?
And what the building owners expect them to versus what is a fair market expectation.
Well, and part of what's filling vacancies, I think, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, is understanding what the community needs or wants to be in those buildings. So that's another,
See, that's where I thought our part of the
Hey, don't you sort of feel like that for right now, it needs to be whoever will come and recluster and organize? Or do we have the hope of, I need to slow down, huh? Because we're not treating it like an emergency right now.
Do people need more places to, or do
People need more places to get the minerals that we pull.
or do they need more places to get farm supplies?
And we did that, we sort of did that in our big meeting, right? So we sort of have our smaller focus from the meeting last time.
we do,
Anyway,
we
I
don't,
left it
this is
over,
just a few people talking, we don't know, I don't know if this is another survey.
Probably 90
I
photographs
have no idea.
so
I
far.
did have a conversation with Dan Henderson.
Debbie gave me all
Has
of
the
her,
hardware
plus
store,
I had a
to
collection
ask
that
him to
I'd
be involved
already
with our committee, and he
Yeah.
said he would
started.
like to do that down the road.
My good
When we are at the
photographs
place where
disappeared
that
at the,
discussion or that survey takes place.
Indian Village. All the-
He's really good at
those folks up there,
merchandising,
and they
you know,
disappeared.
putting together
I had
pieces
some
that
incredible
work.
original.
So when we know a little bit more about what people like, what we're hearing, what we,
Nobody knows.
a surveyor would just like talk to
That way
people or
somebody's
have a forum or whatever, I don't know.
But,
Love
what
it.
would be.
So we'll survey under
The
same
library
objective.
has
So we're this is still in our filling vacancies, but we're deciding what people want.
I think so.
Okay, good.
Does that make any sense?
I think it's fabulous. Okay.
Because one of the things.
Identify, so this becomes identify community needs, like what we
Right.
want.
They have a file cabinet that
Because
is
one of the things that
stuff.
he talked about
The
is
lady that has been
he's
running.
hearing, and I'm hearing the same thing, where bicycles
Somebody new
or
will
Bicycles.
replace
like
it.
sporting goods,
And at
you know,
that point,
kids sporting goods
we'll
stuff.
have to
Now,
go
he has a
forward.
little bit of stuff in there.
Example,
Gain their
bikes.
permission.
I agree, I can't buy bike tubes and we blow bike tubes every day.
And so, but that might
If
not
we
be
reduce-
enough for a standalone business, maybe
I
there
suppose
needs to
we
be
could
an
share
ice cream
something
parlor
with
with
them.
their.
Right,
And
or
just
out,
talking to
or
Or
sports
to get the coffee
equipment.
shop to add sports equipment, because they have so much space up there.
Exactly. There
I like
is.
it.
Now, and I know that he is gonna put bicycle rentals in, so that's not,
Brilliant, right.
that's
But that's not
not
gonna give you a
gonna,
bike or a little patch kit or.
or a used
some
bike,
fitting
or, you
shorts
know,
or
yeah,
whatever it is you wanna
exactly,
buy.
exactly. So anyway, that's one thing, and so he and I was,
I
he
know
was
you're in
saying,
I saw you
this
scribbling
is
over
something I
there.
know
Yeah.
you're about wanting a meeting.
Right.
And for a later date.
What?
Pawn shop.
Pawn shop?
So
Pawn shop.
we can put it on the, we'll put it on, we'll put that, well, that's what we want the survey to be, so, and we can all work on that all the time. We should probably just write a pretty simple, open-ended questions so that we can create a little conversation. Just be like, hey, we're doing this survey, what do you miss, maybe, like, what do you want? And maybe
What's the
she
last-
Really wish they
Right.
had.
What's the
What would
last
you buy?
thing?
Right,
What's the
so
last
we
thing
need
you
to,
bought?
again, ask Sheri for the survey. So that one stays the same. So we could probably ask Sheri for a survey, and then the second thing we'll do is, review and customize our survey.
And
Okay.
this one, I think, almost needs
Found
to
one place, I
be
don't know what
And I mean, this is a lot of work, maybe crazy, but this one almost needs to be done in person to get the anecdotal.
It's the people on
Yeah.
the streets that they,
Yeah,
And
it's
so-
like go chit chat with the clerk at the 39er and ask them a
Yeah.
question
Yeah,
about
what the
somebody in
people
the
come in
car.
here
So
and ask
really, we're all gonna do it, but who wants to head up collecting them?
Who wants to
Oh, first we're just reviewing. Who wants to? A review we could really do by
Well,
email
we have to write it
if we
first.
wanted to, right? Because we'll get Sheri's though, right?
Yeah, but we'll probably have to modify it for,
So we need to, so a task would be to set a meeting to
I'll
customize.
donate $100.
It's already taken.
Tokens if you buy.
We'll have
You have gotten
a
all
bank account
25
that is for the entire,
Yeah.
you got the order.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that's what that sheet.
Eventually, yeah.
It's trying to make it my Carolyn.
Between the two of us, we have
You gotta go
vast
into
majority
this.
So-
of
Yeah.
somebody needs to contact
She does. Well, you were gonna do that,
So
so,
we need to meet
right. So when do we wanna meet to review customize? When do you wanna meet to customize? Do we have a next
We've got
meeting planned?
Eagles pictures.
No, and I
See, that's
purposely
what I'd like to show you is we've got,
do that.
I think maybe I'm in
So it's not like,
the category, these are some of mine. Now, these really little ones here, those are actually the best. They are, yeah, yeah, they are they got more pixels. Yeah.
So
Back
are
on the
these,
24th.
are we on the 23rd?
Actually, we do.
Back on the,
Debbie has all.
See, everybody's
Debbie's-
cramming their last
not all
minute
of them.
stuff.
the first one starts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
what do you wanna do?
and she has a
What,
great.
are you
committee.
open the next 2
She
weeks?
says she doesn't have
You're
time
open the
until
next
she
2 weeks.
retires.
I don't know, I thought I was replacement.
Oh, I know.
Now,
See,
I
that's
found
what
really
I've been
interesting
wondering.
pictures of my
I
building
dropped mine and broke
up there
it.
in different,
Mine just got
I
done.
feel like we could do a lot of it by email though, if Sheri's already got a good one,
but
which she
with no
probably
one.
does.
And then
Will you
we
be
got
available for
pictures
email
of
this
it
week?
with,
Or
three
Really isn't,
No,
because I'm gonna be,
styles
I'm
of
gonna,
awnings
I have this
that
class
we
that I
could
have to
trace
do, I have to get this
through.
certification.
So 24th.
One of the reasons
Why don't
Or
I
after.
doing something that day?
why we need to
That
collect these
day
pictures
I want to say that I
is
have a
we
continuing
need to show these
that day.
buildings
Okay.
as
So
the
we'll check, put it in for that day. and
Probably
then
doesn't
we'll
want
check.
it.
Twenty-fifth or the
things that they've
26th?
gone through over
Are
time.
you saying the
No,
24th?
through,
No.
through.
How about the
Put it
25th?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Reservation
and then
office.
everybody can email Ginger
They
tomorrow
will
to
help
confirm
us
which day works best.
look at what we
I
can
can
do
send out a
to
doodle
get
poll.
downtown.
Do you know about doodle polls?
For some buildings that can be restored,
You just.
So it did become a task, so now we're gonna set some days.
So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of
with
the
it,
week
that
after that, the
melds
25th,
in
26th,
with everything
That's
else.
fine with me, yeah.
Sure. Into
I will do
downtown.
that.
So 8/24 through 8/27, Ginger will set by
Anything can be
tomorrow,
restored.
she'll send a doodle.
But because it's already.
Okay, so,
In this.
right, so are you available by email?
It is actually
It'll
taking
be
on a historic flavor of its own.
Do you have ideas
I have,
about the
I mean,
survey?
I'll have access
You
to
don't
it, I
want
just
to
will be
create-
busy all week.
Well, we will have, I bet she'll give it to us quick, we can give it to you, you can brainstorm your own, so you can offer your ideas by email before you go to the meeting.
Yeah.
You think?
So one of those reflecting on
So we'll talk about it
pictures
before
of
Ginger goes to
downtown
the
is for
So good.
when we go through.
So we need
and take
to
a
all
picture of
exchange
every
contact
single
information
building
too.
in the downtown.
Oh, do we already have her?
We
I
will also
just don't know
have
who is
a
who.
write-up sheet on it that says.
I'm so
when
excited
it
about the
was built,
survey.
Whether it's listed on the.
Okay, so we have to do
historic,
that.
survey. And then the committee over here wants to know what kind of condition it's in now.
I have
Okay,
phone
so-
numbers
Any
and I'll
interior
put this
pictures
together.
of it, work that needs
And then okay, so then we have the survey collection, which is probably gonna be ongoing, because we're just gonna have to catch people as we catch people,
these things that go with it,
have
so
time to
each building,
kind of do it.
then each file, each packet will have a historic picture of it, as well as a modern picture.
I think
And
we
then
need
Why
we'll
don't we
send
do
it to the
both?
assessor's office.
You'll always get, if you,
Now, I have a range.
you have to invite yourself to attend, then you will always get a skewed survey
A
result,
fellow
because
that
only people with a
was,
vested interest in what they have to
has some
say
community
won't
service.
say anything. But if you did that and just ask people on the street.
I think that would be hot to do both.
What do you think about doing an online survey?
I don't think people want to do online.
I think they are. There's a lot of people on Facebook forums.
We could ask
People
Tuesday to
communicating.
send one out to
Capture a
Jeremy.
limited segment of the population.
You
Like
may
my
be,
mom
but you're gonna
doesn't
get a little
but she
bit
shops.
limited of shoppers. I think it just makes a more complete picture of what if we Right, as another component, in addition to hitting the streets, because you're gonna get limited people anywhere. I think it just gives a broader perspective. You could easily link it to one of the Facebook forums that people communicate
Well, we have,
in town. I
we
think
have
there's like
like
2 or 3.
partnership already.
Yeah, but that's, well, the ones that I notice people really are active on is the announcements and the for sale and
He's a valuable resource, plus he's an excellent.
I don't see, well, I don't know. Those are the ones I really see.
Well, we'll put it out everywhere, and we can share it with our friends, and,
Yeah.
and well, I like the 3-prong though, I don't see any reason not to do it, you know? I mean, worst case, somebody's gonna say, I already answered that. Big deal, that'd be the best case.
They
So,
want to know when we
street,
accomplish that.
Sir, I said streets, and then a focus group survey, and a web.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm thinking that it's going to be.
as soon as we get it reviewed and customized, we can almost do it, right?
We would be really
On Survey
lucky to
Monkey
do
or
it,
something.
I think, by the first-
Do you know how? Do you wanna take that on? Sure, you're awesome, okay. So,
But you know,
So
Cheryl will
let's
do
start.
that.
Let's, and we
And
can start with
we
the
could set the due date, because we'll meet the
because
25th.
that's the ones that.
I'm not gonna be back until actually
So I
September
think our
1st.
first
Okay,
project.
so do you have a date around
on
then
that
that,
side of it should be to identify the empty buildings, their ownership,
at least get it to
potential
you?
uses. They're going to
Charge.
be doing that too, but
If it's,
as designed.
I can get it via
We can
email
look at-
anytime,
It's
if you guys
interesting
want
to
that.
see some of these
Yeah.
old photographs. too,
Otherwise, then I'll be back,
Because you
I
can
should be back in
see
town on the 1st.
what,
Okay.
And then, anyway.
So we'll just send it to you when we're done
what
with
things
it.
were
Yeah,
like.
And then do you want, do you think it'd be cool to get it rocking and rolling before Roundup? Because we could get a lot of surveys during Roundup. And so if the survey's already floating, it'll be the first time somebody heard about it.
When I was painting the
So we
building,
did it by,
Roundup is what, that weekend?
yeah, could you get it done by the 4th, you
walking, yeah. So
Probably.
I
think? And
emptied the
then
bucket.
just
down.
holler if you
Okay.
need help, maybe.
What do
Survey
you-
Monkey?
Yeah.
You can print out the survey, yes, and then,
Apparently.
We could work on
it
it.
depends on how it's set up, how you set it up, but yeah, you can
At work, for
print
example,
it.
down
Because I'm
at
just
the
thinking,
Red
you
Love
know,
area. They've got a
when
nice
doing it on the
storage
street, you're not
area
gonna be
that
doing
the
it
sons are
on
going to take
computer.
the dads and
No.
move
No, so but yeah, and I'll make the street one, I'll be responsible for that, so when we decide
So
just
it'll match
typing
what she's
something
doing.
up,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, basically what I'm
So that
thinking
you
is
don't
I'm
have to
just
do it
going
twice.
to make electronic
Yeah.
with the same surveys.
Will it look good enough to just do like on clipboards on people and stuff, like it's easy to use and quick?
They've already talked.
I mean, it's
about
just
great.
the questions with
It's awesome.
with a box.
Okay, so that's actually, so when you do the web one, you will also do the
remember
printed one.
things like, Barb Albertson shop.
So we'll have that for it,
The bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
Corey Price being that.
And then the focus group, when do you want to do that?
Wouldn't that be a better spot for her?
Absolutely.
With a safe?
That's probably not gonna happen
What she's
before.
doing.
Corey Price is the,
Can
all
you
business usual.
piggyback it, Ginger, on your
Here's one of
economic
those on
development,
it
SCOED
that's
stuff
got
anyway?
see it.
So is it can you piggyback it with your SCOED stuff anyway, in any kind of way?
I'm going to post these
I don't have
online very
these
shortly,
No.
now that my.
I'm just thinking it's the same
I
kind
would
of
just trust
people.
you to pick out
It
the.
is,
Some of
but
them.
I,
Things you need to.
with,
tell you what to do. I mean, gosh.
Well,
So to roll back is
the
not
economic
photos.
development
Did
committee
you say
will
maybe
be
12
advisory
or 16
committee will be meeting
16
in
photos that we could use
September,
for
but I
buildings
don't
that
know what
maybe
the
could be
date is yet.
put in the calendar and go to the promotion?
You know, sometimes
Is that
there's
what you're saying?
15
Some
people
of
there,
them, I mean,
sometimes there's
here's,
8.
Maybe if you
Five.
make it,
I've
do
got
you
some
already have a
papers.
subject, could it be
This
focus
one is
group related?
But I was thinking we did,
I read
opening it up to the
something
community.
how
Yeah, I think you should.
there's another
I would
picture
go.
of
As
the
well,
Cowboys
you
in
know, and
the
really do a
1970s.
blitz on their
Okay. And by,
I think you would go. Would you not go?
To a
by
forum.
the,
Well, it's,
yeah, it got beat up on. the-
Economic development,
The,
outside of this.
the transition that
I
happened
don't,
in there.
you mean
By
like ask people to go to the
Everybody-
SCOAD meeting in order to participate in the forum? I don't
Having a
understand
forum to ask people to, for input about what they want to see.
Parking lot filled.
Shopping or.
Right, no, I think that's a great idea.
So
I
where-
just don't
You
know.
guys have rethinking those.
Where
She was
are we
trying to,
gonna-
she was trying to find out if I had
Trying
something else
to
going on.
piggyback on
Really liked
something
one that
else
pulled
to
up
try
the
to.
event the other day.
I will definitely go.
There's
Let's
one,
focus.
The forum seems like a good idea, but I don't, it seems like it would be hard to
I have
get
all
it
those.
and everything before Labor Day.
See, here's
There's
a picture.
Until after that.
They've been naughty about letting the shoes thing.
35.
Now I'm gonna go talk to them.
And then I think we should try and do two of them, like one in the afternoon before kids get out of
Yeah,
school.
or one that-
I said that when I did a training.
I think it'd be fun.
So,
so now we've got, what have we got here?
Like
and
this
then
one,
focus
this is an
group survey
example.
actually has a
Now,
bigger
that's
list,
something
because we
from
need to
Pine
set a
Tree
place.
That doesn't have anything to do
And
with
we have
historical.
refreshments.
But, yeah, I think it'd make a nice poster to go in somewhere.
I would say, let's try to stick with the building.
I don't know.
It sounds exhausting.
For now, that's just my.
And we could do it at COIC,
Yeah.
which would be easy.
Because that's
That's the
gonna
subject
create into
material.
this, right, we wanna bring back a historic town, and this is all good stuff.
So we actually have a budget for this one if we
Use it,
need
but there's a
them.
lot of things we could use on,
We could spend $20.
Well,
Okay,
or
see here,
there may be.
and as an example of being able to use these photographs, you see that there was a hardware store
We can copy all that stuff for free, right?
right by where First Interstate Bank was.
I can do
Probably
some.
where.
Don't let me do some of it at work, sure, maybe.
I think if we just don't talk about it or worry about it very much, we don't have to make a budget item.
No, Eve was the main street.
So are we looking
Yeah,
maybe
the, what is now
the
Main Street,
night or we're gonna do the 10th to do this?
like the Hereford building.
That's after
was
school
the-
starts.
You know what, I might need a couple days to breathe for a
In the very
second. What
back
time are we
was
doing
like
this?
what is now.
No, today's already the 11th. She means next month.
I know, but school, I'm saying with school, I need to breathe because then Tuesday will be the first day, not do homework and feed them to go to bed, bathe them.
I think it's better to wait till after the first week of school is over.
Yeah, I agree.
First week is tough. Readjusting.
9:14?
So, what can we do to help with those systems and?
Oh, so it's 9:14.
Or 15?
Lunch hours, pick pictures and.
9:14?
Want to do it on Monday?
To let people know just how much.
I like Monday, I don't care.
If you agree.
Okay, so you were
Monday,
suggesting what time?
Like one at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something, so that it'll be before you have kids out of school and before you have to go to grocery
And I'll be
shopping.
open.
And then another one, like say at 6 or 5 or something. It might,
Have
yeah.
at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So that people who work during the day will have an opportunity to
show
off
that,
work and stuff, you know?
Make sure.
We're gonna spend $20.
Or maybe even earlier, maybe like 11 or
we
something.
have our donations now for any.
No, you don't know who it is necessarily.
Do I have to turn this into Sheri? So we need a very bad grade.
School type thing is.
We'll have you reload it. Here, I've got one.
Irish Day.
Do you have one with our correct objective?
They get, well, they get out at different times. I think the earliest gets out at
No, we changed our whole survey.
So if you did it like
Because John's gonna do the one we wanted to do, so now we're surveying what people want to shop for. No, we're still assisting building owners in filling vacancies, but our project instead is a survey that is what kind of stores do people want.
You know, they did the same thing back then, but this flavor of awning, when it rotted away, they came back in.
Yeah, I think we were actually out of the room and we changed the whole survey. It shows me you haven't been paying attention. You need to,
Willis is gonna
you
look
need
up
to sign up for
pictures that.
So we're surveying Lakeview, everybody, survey Lakeview
You're gonna choose the
about
pictures and give to it, and
wanted
whoever wants to review them can.
goods and services in
So there
your
will be,
businesses.
we haven't decided how many.
Sure.
Except maybe for the calendar, it'd be 12 or 16, but.
I'm just going to go through and pick every picture that I think might make a good poster.
I love this because it gets us straight to the business cluster and to the business cluster and business survey, which is why I know she has one.
Well, yeah, because I was thinking about that, there aren't really clusters here.
No, that would be so great.
There's just individuals.
Anticipated outcomes in this case is,
I mean, it's really well, the 39 sells shoes, but then there's nowhere else, like, it's only you can go to True Value and buy shoes too, or boots or something, you know what I mean?
see, I wrote people survey on this when she was talking. See how organic that turned out? Love it. So anticipated outcomes are, we're gonna identify businesses to recruit. Right, that's fun though. Identify businesses to recruit, right?
Just sign up for that.
I really don't mind, I love that.
I thought Jennifer just signed up for that.
That's fine.
It all seems really awesome until you start getting to the people who wrote little notes next to the button. I've done this.
I always write notes on my surveys. Am I that person?
So is this a 4 or a 7? What are you trying to say?
Caption under the photo.
Yeah, if we set it up properly and the software will do a lot of
Do all
that.
accounting, right?
Well, I mean, it can't do, a lot of it is, you know, we don't have.
Okay, so really we need to get survey from Sheri. I'm reviewing here as I do it. So then we're gonna customize the survey.
You have a number, press an extension, and it says.
And then we're gonna write the survey. And then we're going to start a street survey, because that'll go probably for a while. We're gonna pass a web survey for a while. And then we're gonna have a focus group, kind of, maybe the focus group time can be when we wrap it up, because that will have given us about 10 days with the other formats. And then we can, so focus group. And then we're gonna compile survey.
Because if we each gone out and asked 5 people the questions, they're each gonna tell 2 of their friends.
So we're gonna compile when we're wrapping this up. 9:15 is our
This
focus.
picture is the store next to.
How's it going?
Awesome.
So this would be one, several
We're talking
of
about
the
doing a
neighbors.
survey for purpose of
Those we would cluster, group together for him.
finding out
Now,
what
the early pictures
people would like to
of
see.
the Lakeview Motel,
What kind
all
of
of
shopping,
those will cluster
merchandise,
for you to
blah, blah,
put up
whatever.
in the windows.
What they go out of town to buy now, do they could buy here?
Pictures of the real building.
Buy here.
Have those.
So we're talking
Pictures
about
of the
doing a three-pronged
posting
effort.
thing that he's talking about.
Electronically,
That I'm sure the
man on
bank
the
was
street,
very
and
cool.
also focus groups.
They've got
Inviting
some
people
nice pictures,
to
but
do it.
if
Do
we gave
you
them that
have any
format,
examples of, so you see how good? I mean, some people
Holly,
we could
Holly
take and
took
tweak
that
and
job
make our
on,
own.
so we can check something off as soon as tomorrow.
Yeah, just email me and when I'm back back in the office, I can send you some different examples. And just the tip, man on the street kind of thing. Should be a woman on the street, somebody who looks non-threatening. Yeah, there you go. I don't know why, that's
You just
research
skated
just
out of
got
that job.
Yeah, I don't know why, that's,
Well, we even thought of going into some of the businesses and, saying, what are people coming in and asking you for?
I think that's a great idea.
Well, what I keep thinking about.
And I always like to, those are the kinds of questions I like to ask, what are you buying, what are you buying? Not what would you like to buy, but what are you buying?
Right, like what's the last thing you drove to Klamath actually bought? And then, so you would buy
I like that
right?
question.
It's better, it's a much better question.
And if it was here, would you buy it?
Right, like how many weeks
So
before
you
you buy it
could
again?
do some business outreach. I think that's almost the whole
She's
thing.
got the brain for it, she just keeps going.
I think we need to,
Well, business psychology.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
let's compile a list of businesses
That's
to
a
interview.
project that has been
I
brought
think
up.
that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
So we don't duplicate, just that one we can organize a little better.
Okay, you guys, about 15 minutes for, or, oh, sure, yeah.
I think like 5,
Yeah,
honestly, I think we're there. And then I have babysit for 20 minutes, so I can do some of these.
What I want you to do is report out to the group one of the projects that you're.
Okay, good. I guess I'm not getting out of here. List businesses to survey. Who wants to do that? List businesses that we should go survey. It's the easiest way to get a list.
What I thought
No, because on this survey, we're talking about going in and just asking, what are people buying? What
What are people asking for that you
selling?
don't
What are
stock,
they asking
you know?
for? So just a different, a slight twist from the man on the street.
I don't think we need to have that online or at the focus group or any of that. I mean, I think you could just go to True Value and Lakeview Lockers and the board business and start.
I just think we need to make a list, just like you just said 3. We need to make a list. So that,
Well, yeah, so let's put Lakeview Lockers.
or does one person just want to talk to the businesses? Can one
No, let's
person
just
handle
make
it?
the list.
I should do it.
Let's just make the list.
I should just do it. Okay, start making a list. You guys
True
make a
Value.
list.
And maybe 5 Corners Speed. I'm not downtown,
Yeah.
but just putting all the
Because I want to do it too. We'll split it
And
up.
then what is downtown? Yeah, the 39-year.
because they have what, 3 different businesses.
Because I need to go for on-the-job trainings and stuff anyway. I need to go see a whole bunch of people.
Vendors.
Street survey as
Like the
well,
hair salon.
web survey as well,
Hair salons get more product.
focus group. Ginger, can you be in charge of focus group? Thank you.
Several different.
There's Razor's Edge. What is that one in there, Bradbury's Place? Next to the chamber. Yeah, to the right.
So there's beauty salons there. There's beauty salons between there and DHS.
Yeah, there's between the chamber and the
Yeah. It's the same one, with 2 doors.
next to chamber, just right next to chamber salon.
I think we're gonna do, yeah, this list is gonna help us, but we're just gonna
What
split
is
it up.
Oakland Furniture? That's right.
I think the students love.
So then we have to do survey.
You guys did, I just this second.
We're actually going to do the whole
Right on, good.
What about the
This
restaurants?
weird desert of food.
Do we want to do restaurant owners or just retail?
So we need to have this done over by the 15th.
It seems like the restaurant owners are.
So that'll give us 11 days. Knock it out.
Oh,
They're
there's
making us a list.
there's the,
Don't forget Telltale.
Four-wheeler.
Target tall
Oh,
tents.
yeah, that,
And I guess we have to
the, what's the four-wheeler shop next to the KBE?
I would say every day anyways.
And what was the other one you just said?
Are they the ones that are the youth, they're owned by the 30,
Yeah.
they're owned by the 39er people?
Are they owned by the 30?
What is Tall Town?
No, they own it, and they do the 39er, the coffee bicycle thing, and then the tall town.
The community gets together, there's social stuff going on.
Maybe it's not. Or the music is what
I just know 10 million.
Okay, so that's
Oh, it's called Cycle Time.
I mean, you do that for other places, but I think
Conference is gone.
They're all the same people. 31, tall town, cycle town.
Well, we could just talk to clerks too, though, we'll just feel it out.
There's nothing for.
They're busy, they're bored.
But
But this is great, because I actually need to reach out to these people for onto the job training stuff anyway, so I'll just piggyback it, and I can do it during work. It's been something I've needed to do, so that's good. So we'll also have that done by 9:15, and Robert's gonna hit who I can't hit.
I went on my wife over Saturday.
Is we good? Yes, please.
And you're gonna do that by 9:14?
9:15, I said, because our focus group will be 9:15, so.
Oh, is it 9:15?
No, it's 9:40.
Saturday market.
Oh, I thought,
Monday or Tuesday?
I don't know, Monday or Tuesday, I don't care. I don't know why I changed it. Okay, Monday's great, 9:14. Yes, 9:14.
So I want to deal with the focus group.
We can have it as COIC if you want. Sure.
That was
You can do it in the daytime and the nighttime, right?
Well, it depends on like how presenty it is. Like, we can have it, you just know how my lobby doesn't really divide, so you're just gonna have to have it in the back of the room with a lower
I
voice.
think you should just do it in the front, like where you had graduation.
I think I should close the lobby.
The county has power.
Yeah,
I could.
I think you should.
They gave you permission to let bands.
So I will close the lobby.
Either that or go help your clients on the school side.
The evening's easy, yeah, I'm just, it's always tough to, 9:14 till Monday. What can we do? Yeah, can we do Tuesday at 1? Is it? Well, yeah, I mean, we're not stuck on Monday for any reason. So do you want all of it, or do you want both times on Tuesday? I love that I've written it across this out many times. Okay.
Shows we're active.
Yes, it means that we're flexible and it's fluid. Great. And our genius.
Okay.
So 1 p.m., 6 p.m.
Does that
Good,
sound
so I
good?
can close all this.
And they go around to every.
And there's no way I can take it like 2 hours. Probably more like 45 minutes to an hour.
How long is it? We should decide.
Landings and where to do this with as many.
I guess we have to read our survey. Then we'll let it
For every or something.
What time do the elementary schools get
I
out?
wouldn't
Does anybody know?
No, it
What time they get out? Oh, yeah.
We might want to make that 11.
Should we do it at 11?
You think they'll be out?
No,
Well, if you do it at 1 and you're taking a whole hour, people are
Oh,
I
I don't care, we can do it whatever time it works for Miss Ginger.
Would 11?
I'll be there all day.
Let's do 11.
I think that's probably
So 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. I am so dead at 11, and that's actually great. Yeah, I'm so
You
dead.
could maybe not close the lobby, and if someone comes in, you can just.
I can just tell them they have to be in the focus group.
So in order to do this, I want to
Very good. Newspaper.
If I want something in the newspaper on the 9th of September, I would need to have it to you by,
That Monday before that.
that's like Labor Day. That's Labor Day.
And that Friday before that.
Friday.
In the historic.
what's the-
So whoever, they give me a kind of organizers on Facebook or something, said, hey, you know, we're all gonna go.
We talked about.
So an ad by the 9th, you said?
There you go.
I'll add it to your list here.
Kind of about west.
then what you do is, you organize people, and it works. I mean, you.
Are we ready to do our presentation?
I think we're so solid.
Oh, share with you. What are we gonna call it? That's what it is that you pick a business.
Shop Lakeview.
Focus on local or something?
Shop Lakeview.
Shop like
I like
simple,
that.
concise, it says.
Yeah, so, and everybody
And then you go.
Survey.
It creates a video spend,
whatever the logo is on everything.
Okay.
And we will be finished with our whole Shop Lakeview compilation.
We've had some really.
And
Yeah, then we have to have a massive meeting.
we have to have an exit meeting.
But you're leaving right after the focus.
So we're having a compile.
So
But the compile's pretty
after
simple,
that?
right? So the exit interview.
They do the, like you're at an airport and all the people
So the exit interview.
We all have to keep our Wednesday afternoons free by then for the grant writing class also, right?
For the grant writing class, yeah.
Yeah, it starts on the
23rd,
23rd.
right?
I need to get that.
And I need time to prep for it too. That won't happen until the day before.
Are we supposed to prep for it?
I do.
Oh.
She's teaching.
Oh. Shoot, I didn't know I had to do anything before that.
What time? It's 11 to what?
4?
11 to 4.
Use their colors.
Yeah.
This is
So-
one of the places we.
All sorts of.
I would be a lot more safe if we did it on the 24th.
Do you want to do that Thursday?
You just put it out,
And then
What are we doing?
Our prep, I mean, debrief.
Our exit debrief meeting.
Just
Debrief is better because hopefully we won't want to exit.
On Thursday, should we just do it at like 5:30?
The two
After work, you're off at 5, right?
Yeah, that's,
But you
I'm
can do
good
that
at that.
every day, right? I don't know, John. Do you work?
I work for
Okay, so you get off at like 5 or you have to work 4 hours or what? So
Yeah, immense flexibility in your subject because you're something.
Yeah. Do you want to, where do we want to do it? I can probably
How many people are we gonna have there? Just us?
Us.
It's up to you, but we can do COIC, Jerry's is fine. I don't care. Are we allowed to drink or are you like,
just depends on how coherent you are.
It's just one, and Jerry's is more fun.
Okay.
Well, it was kind of fun to have him, I mean, if I have a babysitter, I have to maximize, because like, I never go anywhere. I mean, I have to. So debrief meeting 5:30, Jerry's, are we doing it the 24th?
The one other thing that I wanted to add is
Unless, as you're saying, if you want to do something separately from the historic side of it.
Yeah, this would be separate.
I want to contact the people that aren't here. Mike Warren, I spelled his name wrong.
You have to have landscape.
Oh, well, it's not here.
You know what, I guess.
You know what, Elijah told me that they were having a street dance until 9:30 anyway, so I did not buy tickets to the Cowboy Poetry thing. Everything was gone from downtown by like 2:45. I am so disappointed in them.
So is it going to, oh, well, I'm not written down. Okay, so I'm compiling. So Mike, your web
People
compile.
we need to bring up to speed about tonight would be Mike Warren, Vince, and Kathy Rogers, and Jen.
They don't know. Yeah, she's from Quebec.
Yeah,
She's
she wants to.
She's like volunteer.
Does somebody want to talk to her?
Eventually you get around
You
there.
can get those people rather
Yeah,
than.
Mary, but
Right,
she's up to
Mary,
town.
Mary, I can deal with her.
You guys
Because
can be
Not that I'm saying anything about subway signs.
Fred Smith, Vince, Kathy Rogers, and Jen. I can take Jen.
I'll do Mike or Fred or Mike and Fred.
Should we add the, workshop? Should we add a workshop for you to tell them?
Is that,
This whole
even
you
with Jim,
described
that's
is going to be the outcome.
What did you say you were gonna do, Jen?
The process that we went through.
I could do Mike and Fred. I need emails though or something.
They're in your.
I love
emails
Fred.
and these meetings.
I have to butter him up, and she's gonna teach my kids.
And Mike is already in the email.
I'll get with Captain Rogers.
So all I have is Vince's
Let me make sure you
Yes.
guys my regular is center email.
Okay, so I'm gonna compile by
So frustrating when that
when
happens.
September farming.
Well, it's been hours between the troubleshooting to get the SIM card, which then didn't fix the problem, and the troubleshooting to get the phone, which now fixed the problem, and the 2.5 hours I was on the phone with them today to try and download my contacts, and now I gotta go back to Jennifer's house and kick it in my car because they swear it won't work. I mean, it's literally, this has taken about 4 or 5 hours.
I love you, I saw you.
Did you like stuff?
I've had it for years.
We're gonna do report out. All right. We're gonna do our report
We
out.
specialize in rural.
For 6 years, because they were actually the only ones where my mom.
What we're gonna do is, in the next half an hour, or less, each of the committees, what I want you to do is pick a spokesperson and have them talk about 1 or 2 project ideas that you came up with. So why don't we start with promotion committee? What's your idea that you came up with?
You came up with cash mob. Cash mob.
We love it.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our Lakeview Community Partnership Facebook page, and at one certain point, we're gonna say, okay, everybody who wants to come join us, we're gonna meet at the city parking lot. And you need to commit to spending X amount of dollars, whether it's $5, $10, $20, at a local business. And when
Cash mom?
Cash mob. And then when they come to the designated spot, we tell them which store we're going to. And we mob that store.
Well, have fun.
Very cool.
And the receipt. And the receipt. And once you spend your money, you get to enter your receipt into a drawing for a gift certificate to that store. So you're doubling your money.
And which objective is this meeting for you?
This is meeting, encouraging local residents to shop downtown.
Yay! All right. Who has to go next? Ginger?
Sure.
You can, who's gonna report out?
Who's gonna report out?
So,
So let us know the objective and then the activity that you're gonna do to meet that.
objective that we are working on is to assist business owners in filling vacancies and retaining tenants. So we are going to create a 3-pronged survey with a little sub-survey called Shop Lakeview. We will have a focus group where people can come into a building and answer questions about what is the last thing you drove out of town to buy? How often do you buy that item? Would you buy it in Lakeview? So that we can get an idea of what types of businesses we need to collect to the area. We will also have a Facebook survey, right?
An online survey.
An online survey, and then we will each go out and ask random people, like man on the street style, to make sure that we get a good smattering of the socioeconomic demographics available in Lakeview. And then our little sub-survey is going to be of businesses, which we made a list of businesses, so that we can ask them, what are the things you sell most, what are the things you wish you sold more of, and what are the things that people ask you that you don't have in stock. Like the most common thing that someone asks you for in the store that you can't sell them. So then once we do that, we will have a better idea of what types of businesses we should be trying to attract, what are the things that people who are already here are willing to spend money on, so that we can use that to catapult into larger and better businesses.
Yay! Good job. Good job. All right, design committee.
So do you want, well, you know, kind of all over the place, but I think the first thing we talked about was the photos, and Teresa brought this up at our last meeting, community meeting we had a lot of old photos, and I know you guys have seen them all around town, but there's archives of them. And so to get photos blown up, and they're not very expensive, like a poster size, and put them in some of the empty windows of the buildings that are not occupied now, that might show how that store was used and how that place was whether it was retail or what. Like here's, the Indian Village would be like the old hotel. So anyway, that is the first thing, and we kind of, in our date would have these posters up would be Roundup. They have that done by Roundup.
Nice.
So, and
That'll
then,
get people downtown during Roundup, right?
Yeah.
To see
And
these
then-
historic photos.
oh, we hope that.
Include ones with people in it, and
Yeah.
they'll come see their family members.
And then well, first of all, we talked about those photos and how interesting it would be to make a calendar with old photos and have that, and maybe throw it over to the promotion committee that they might want to work on that in terms of raising funds. Use some of these old photos and history about the town in a 12 or 16-month calendar. And then the other one we talked about was doing the survey, and we really don't have a date on that, but we do know that we need to survey all the buildings and look at what they offer in terms of retail space or whatever, what they have to offer a person that might want to open up a business. And then, of course, I guess you'd have to use the town to help us, do that, and then economic development. So a lot of the things we've talked about, you have to have collaboration. Anything else I forgot?
Well, we decided because the committee here needs the information on the empty buildings, that we will focus on trying to get them that information first. And then worry about the buildings that are already occupied and have people in them as we can down the road.
And one other one, like I said, we're gonna all of our good ideas. But anyway, to more utilize the downtown park, which I call that, is in front of the courthouse. And maybe put some picnic tables in there, so office people could go and take a sack lunch or buy something and have a nice place to sit during this spring, summer, and fall, because we usually have good enough weather to sit outside for that. And so that's something that we've talked about, and also maybe using the school shop class to make it, because they've done that before in Lakeview, different things. So that was just one other thing.
Okay, great. A lot of good ideas. All right. Any other ideas out there? Anything else?
I just want to say, if you're going to do anything like calendars or blowing up, make sure you check with all the businesses in town to see if they can do that first.
What do you mean,
We
they don't
have-
pay for it? Yeah.
No, not to pay for it, if they could, to make them.
Like go to vendors and ask them if they can print you a poster before you go to town and
Or
get it at
Howard's,
Staples.
can they make a poster,
Right.
Can they do that? Or
Holloway.
Holloway's cannot do it. We've talked with them, they can make a smaller
Right, they can
picture.
put like they
And she
did for us.
volunteered to help us anyway.
Yeah, she made them for us for the last Saturday that
Right.
we had. But just make sure you go to the businesses. I mean, if we're gonna promote our businesses, we, as a committee here, we have to at least go to them first
Absolutely.
and ask.
Don't go to Amazon and say, would you please do this?
And if they can't, then, they can't, and we have to go elsewhere. But we have to give them the opportunity first. Or else we don't have any buy-in with them if we don't.
All right. Any other thoughts or ideas?
I just have information to throw out to you. The office supply store, that used to be a meat locker, a meat place.
Office, or you
The
just
store. The store.
Oh, did it?
Yep. I just thought I'd throw that out to you.
You were talking about that guy.
It's so fun to learn about the history of the buildings and what was in there.
I remember going
Wait,
to
no,
that.
that was, the meat store was where the fitness center is at. That was Gus Allen's teamwork.
That's right.
So as I know, the Economic Vitality Committee asked for sample surveys, and so, email me so that I remember by the time I get back to say.
you probably have these forms in electronic form too?
I've got them, I'll.
You've got them
send
already?
That means like 40.
And so.
Not electronically, I just need one.
Calendars, I'm not sure, I know I had some, I'm not sure if I still do, but I can, at least you can see, but these days, that would be so easy to do.
I have,
Online.
we collect calendars, that's why.
Okay.
We collect the ones with all the different locks on them.
Okay.
That's why we like the idea about them.
Yeah, and with the cash mob, we're connected with Myrtle Creek and some of the other communities that have done that, so that everybody can learn what worked and what didn't, and how to promote it effectively. Again, if you need me, kind of email me and see if I have any examples of things, and I'll try and get them to you. Anything else for there?
No.
Great.
Yeah, good job, you guys. It was fun. I get so excited when I begin to hear projects. It begins to get me thinking.
So when we're sitting around thinking in our groups of the different projects, are there online resources where you can go to somewhere and see a list of towns similar to Lakeview, Eastern Oregon, small towns, and what the design group has done so that we don't reinvent the wheel?
Not necessarily by town like that, but what you can do is we have a listserv, and you can say, our design committee is just getting started, this is what Lakeview's like, what other Oregon towns out there, what projects are you working on, if you have similar demographics or statistics. Right now, a lot of people are using me as that conduit, but I think it would be great to engage on our listserv. And any of you that want to be signed up individually on our listserv, just send me an email and I'll get you signed up. And that way you can. My email is Sheri, SHERI, Stuart, STUART, @Oregon.gov. Oregon.
So is Vail a main street?
No. Okay. Ontario is, but they just started up with you guys, so you guys are right about this.
So I was trying to think of a similar, Burns, no?
Burns is.
Burns is.
Yes. They got started a couple of years ago.
I was trying to think of, communities that might be kind of similar. Enterprise.
We're just getting started in Wallowa. Trying to think on the east side. But I would even look for similar sized communities, like Dayton.
Yeah.
It's a town of 2,500. Dayton, Oregon, not Dayton, Washington.
Right, no.
And Myrtle Creek. Port Orford's a little teeny town. Port Orford, so there's a lot that, not necessarily, exactly the same, but a smaller size, just what they've been able to accomplish kind of thing.
What about Jacksonville? Have they stepped off yet?
Jacksonville keeps dipping their toe in, but hasn't fully committed. You guys are so far ahead of Jacksonville.
Right around the Dalles, did they do something?
The Dalles, yeah.
Dalles did.
Yeah, Dalles is one of our transforming global communities. Yeah, I think
So I was just thinking Burns would
Christy
probably.
Henderson.
They got a grant to repair their
She wants to be on this committee this summer.
Your schedule.
She has
$20,000.
experience.
Oh, okay. Milton Freewater.
No, I didn't know about it.
Milton Freewater's been doing lots of good ideas.
You can watch.
The one thing, keep focused, look at your objectives and design projects and activities around those objectives. Okay? All right? It's good. I always like to end with where to you. Once everybody accomplished everything. So good job, you guys. Thanks, Sheri.
Yeah, well, I work for both.